Welcome back to another episode. This one is like professional. This one's like beyond anything that you've seen. So I'm really excited for this one. I'm really happy. I had a lot of fun setting this up. Today we have a special guest. Actually, welcome back to another episode of Better Than Yesterday. That is the title of it because being better than yesterday is kind of where we're at. Just working on being a better version of yourself.
Amen.
Better Than Yesterday podcast, episode 6 now. Nice. Special guest is, I'm going to say it, the legend, Javi Hooch, however you want to call him. This man is an inspiration. This man is an audio engineer of the gods. He has done it all. Would you call yourself just audio engineer, or would you give yourself a bigger title?
More like a recording and mixing engineer.
The legendary recording mix engineer, Javi. I would like to have the guest introduce himself a little bit because you know yourself better than anyone. But talk to us about being a recording engineer, being a recording mixing engineer. Just give us a little brief 10-second background on you.
Cool. Well, like Shanghai said, my name's Javier. I started working in audio like a week ago, so it's pretty exciting so far.
Oh God!
Nah, I've been audio engineer, like how he put it, recording and mix engineer for over 20 years now. I've been lucky and blessed to be able to do what I love for a living. You know, and it can be hard. You know, the entertainment industry has its ups and downs, and you know, but it's I've been lucky. I've been worked with people that I always wanted to work with. I've been, you know, lucky to keep doing at it.
Yeah,
I know I keep saying that I'm lucky because normally I'm used to being on the other side of the microphone.
Yeah,
so it's a little weird. Yeah, it's just
I'm used to being behind the camera and doing other things, so it's a little bit of an adaptation. But that's part of what I wanted to do was kind of shed light on like people behind the scenes. So that's a lot of who I've been like interviewing and stuff.
Nice.
But yeah,
back to that. I was born in South America in Bolivia. To be more specific.
When did you come to the U.S.?
Oh, I was a kid, like 14. Well, I was 6. We moved to LA with my family, and then we moved back to Bolivia when I was like 10, and then we moved to Miami when I was 14, and so I grew up in Miami.
Where'd you first move to?
LA.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were there for like when you were like
4
a kid.
years. Yeah, I was a kid, elementary school.
So you ended up in Miami. At what age did you come to Miami? Like,
14.
Did you land here?
I was 14 when we moved here with my family.
Cool. So you went to high school out here?
Yep.
What high school did you go to?
Sunset, Scumset. Yep, Kendall.
I don't know that because I'm not from Miami, but you know,
it's out in
305.
305 till I die now. Yeah, it's in Kendall. But it was fun, man. It was fun growing up in Miami back then. It was in the early 90s. It was.
You make it sound like it's bad now.
Different.
It's different now, huh?
It's different.
It just
bad.
changes.
Yeah.
It's just like I feel that too.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
I'm sure it's changed since you've been down here.
Oh yeah,
like insane.
I changed since I got back. I was in LA for 2 months, and I came back, and I was like
new buildings, new shit. Yeah,
new rules, new everything.
Yeah,
so. You got here when you were 14. You went to high school out here. Did you go to college? And did you go to college for audio engineering?
I did. When I first graduated high school, I started going to Miami-Dade because it was like, I guess I have to go to school.
MDC or whatever it is.
Yeah, back then it was called Miami-Dade Community College. So it was a community college. But it was just, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like I knew it was just like
most people.
Yeah. You know, you're 18. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
You don't want to do anything. You want to like fuck around and like, you know, live life.
Live life for real.
Yeah. Like
a normal person.
Kudos to the kids that know what they want to do at 17,
Oh my
18.
God, I know.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Because, you know, but everybody has their route that they have to take to where they end up where they have to be, you know. And I went to Dade for a little bit, and then I kind of like I played in bands and stuff like that. And I knew I wasn't that great of a musician.
What did you play?
Drums.
Yeah. It's a vibe.
Yeah.
You still play drums?
No. I once I started going to school for audio engineering, I kind of stopped playing instruments and just wanted to dive in and dedicate like everything to that.
I think that's like super important. That's something I touched on another podcast, and I just talk about a lot. Is like you said, if you're lucky, what you know what you want to do and stuff, and then how you decided to start focusing on one thing. I think that's like a very important thing. Is like to kind of have your end goal.
You're right.
Decided.
Oh, it's
because if you don't, then you're just playing around. I mean, for me, even like right now, I'm kind of playing around with shit, but whatever, guys.
No, but you have a goal.
Of course,
like you have
exactly. I know where I want to be with it, and I know it's not going to impede me in any way. Whereas if you're just dipping your toes in the water everywhere. You're kind of like you never know.
What's that saying? Master.
Oh yeah,
like,
jack of all trades, master of none.
Exactly.
So yeah, definitely. So you were in college, and when did the audio engineering come into the picture?
When I went to visit some friends in Orlando.
Okay.
Well, first when my friend was recording an album, he's like, "Yo, I'm recording. Do you want to come to the studio?" And I was like, "Well, like yeah, sure."
Mm-hmm.
You know, so went to the studio with him, and I was like, "Yo, this is crazy!" Like, you know,
yeah, it's like
it's
like a big studio too.
It was a pretty decent studio. It was mostly local bands, you know, like
yeah, it was big for you. Like it was your first time in the studio. So,
yeah,
okay.
It was still like the setup. We're talking about like, you know, early '90s, so the setups were still bigger. It wasn't like a kid in his bedroom,
right?
You can do it.
You
now.
were a little impressed by it.
Yeah,
like,
of course. There's still there was a console, you know. There's the tape machine. There's shit. So and then like. Because I saw that and I remember seeing the engineer and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! Like that's a cool job." Yeah, I kind of want to do that. And then fast forward a couple months, I went to visit some friends that were going to school in Orlando.
Okay.
One of my friends was like, she's like, "Hey, what are you doing today? You want to come with me? I got to go pick up my cousin from." Her cousin was flying in from like Minnesota, and she's like, he's got to go to like this audio school for like a tour. You want to come with me? And I was like, "Yeah, sure. That sounds cool."
And that's kind of how it came about.
Well, yeah. So I went with her, and then we ended up going to Full Sail. Like he was touring Full Sail. And then I saw it, and I was like, wait, you can go to school for this? Like, I was like, dude, this is amazing. And then right there, I kind of knew, like, this is my calling. This is what I want to do.
So did you left the community college here and you went to Full Sail? Or what? How'd that happen?
I wish it was just that forward. I came back, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I started looking into programs, you know, and they'd actually had an audio program for and then, you know, so does UM. Like, there's a lot of great schools that have it. But then, you know, I was working odd jobs, playing in you know, like bands and stuff like that. But then I was like, I want to go to Full Sail. Like, I was like, this is a school that I want to do because it's exactly what I want to do. I don't have to, like, take all the bullshit other courses that I don't want to take.
Right, do all this shit.
I can bust my ass in school because back then Full Sail was like 1 year, 8 hours a day. You do what you do and you graduate. So I moved to Orlando with the hopes of getting into Full Sail. I couldn't really get the money for the tuition. I was working,
college jobs.
Yeah, college jobs.
Yeah.
I worked at Papa John's.
Hey, I think we all worked at pizza places.
So I was delivering pizzas for a while and then playing in bands up there. Be like, okay, I moved up to go to Full Sail. Never happened. I was there for like 2 years. Then life happens. You know, things got out of hand. You know, ended up getting evicted. Crashing in people's couches, on friends' couches for a while. Okay. Like my friends that were like really good friends were like, at one point, you know, they're like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You're like, you're a loser. Like you're not doing anything, and you're like, damn,
that's
bro.
tough.
You know, then I ended up moving to New York because we're like, okay, let's move to New York. With one of my bandmates, we're like, let's go to New York. Like,
let's run away from it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right. Like we came back from like skating or something one night, and
you
like,
just decided to go to.
We're going to. We literally decided that night. Next morning, we loaded his car up, loaded our skateboards, and then like we left.
That's tight.
And we had two friends. They were like, yeah, they wanted to move with us. One of them, her grandparents lived in New York. So she's like, we can crash with our grandparents in Queens. We're like, awesome. We're like, all four of us are moving together to New York. We'll get odd jobs, washing dishes, whatever. And then we'll get our own place.
And Live for Friends episode.
Yeah, exactly. R.I.P. to Matt Perry.
Oh, for real. That's so recent.
Crazy.
But yeah, so you were in Queens now.
Yeah.
How long did you stay there?
Like, and that shit went downhill really fast.
Oh, wow. Like a month, huh?
Not even.
Oh, no.
Like, we were there for like 3-4 days, and then we ended up getting kicked out of that house, of the grandparents' house, because...
Were you bad people?
No,
or like,
we
no offense, but like...
No, well, so we ended up going out to like, there was like some kind of like industrial and punk music fest that was happening that somebody told us like in the streets, and we're like, oh, let's go check it out. There's a bunch of bands that we like played. And it was like an all-night thing, so we ended up staying out all night.
Yeah.
And the grandparents were like, what the hell? You know, like, this is New York City. You can't be doing this. Like, you were worried. This is before cell phones and stuff like that. So the girl gets in a fight with the grandparents, and it's like, so, you know, she's like not going to take it. So it was like, yeah, we're out. So the other girl that we were with, her sister was going to NYU. She's like, I'm going to stay with my sister. So the other girl was like, yeah, like, you should go. And here we are now, like, sleeping in parks in New York for like a week.
Yeah.
Like,
you were homeless out there.
Yeah, and you were homeless.
That's
like
crazy. You didn't have a car or anything. You really were sleeping in the park.
We were sleeping in the car.
Okay,
but there was
but you had to
us.
like go park somewhere and then like finesse.
Exactly.
Okay, wow.
So then we're like, what are we doing, dude? And let's go back to Orlando. So we all came back down.
That's crazy.
And then that's when, like, it was like one of those, like, what are you doing for real? Like, get your life together. So, you know, I called my mom, got to take it back to Miami. came back, went back to, working here at restaurants. But I still knew I want to go to Full Sail.
How old were you at this point?
21 maybe.
Okay.
21,
But so you were
22.
Still bouncing around, but you like knew where you wanted to be now.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then went back to Dade, started taking the courses because I wanted to do audio.
Right.
If I can't go to Full Sail, I can't go to Full Sail. It is what it is. Ended up applying for a loan for school, and I ended up got it. So I told the owner of the restaurant that I used to work at, like, look, I'm moving to Orlando. And she was like, don't move. I want to make you a manager. Like, she was awesome. And she gave me a raise, and then I was like, all right, that sounds kind of great.
Well, now it makes sense because you need the money. So you're like, I can stay longer and save. And then
Exactly. So I did that for like a year, and then it was still like, I can't. Because I was like, cool, I'll just do it. And I'll go to Dade, then I'll go to UM.
Yeah.
But then I was like, dude, it's going to be 4 years.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, so then I was just like, I can't. And after like almost a year of doing that, I told her, I was like, I'm sorry. I got to go to Full Sail.
Not to jump ahead too much, but like, at what point did you get your first, like, hey, I'm in a studio working, assisting people?
After I graduated from Full Sail.
Was it something you got through the school, or is it something that you kind of had finessed?
So here's the thing. School, for some people, is great.
Yeah.
For honestly, for audio engineering, stuff like that, like recording and stuff like that, it's a craft. All the big engineers that I used to assist when I first started, there was no school back then.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
They just figure it out.
Just sit down with whatever and make it happen.
Exactly. Most of them that did go to school, they went to school for like to be like electricians or like stuff like that.
Okay, so that's tight.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome because it helps them. But for me, school helped me get my shit together and discipline, and it gets you in the door because it got me interviews at studios. And once you're in the studio, it's up to you. Once you're doing the internship, it's up to you. At the end of the even I get gigs now. Like, maybe, your reputation gets you, but like your work is going to keep you there.
That's so true. Like at the end of the day, your work is all that there is. Yeah. Did you have to be a runner?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were a runner
in 2 different studios.
It's wild, right? Hava's a runner? Crazy.
So like after I finished school, the next day I just moved back down to Miami. Came back, I think I went to the restaurant to eat where I used to work at. Just to say hi, I'm back in Miami. And then the owner, she's like, you're back? Great, you start tomorrow. And I was like, no, I just graduated school. Like, I'm an audio engineer. And it's like, no, you're not an audio engineer. You just went to school for it. Just like, you're not a lawyer. You didn't pass the bar. So then I needed a job. I needed money. So I took the job with her, and I told her, look, I can work in the mornings because I'm trying to get shifts at nights to work at studios because most studios, you work at night.
This is when you stopped sleeping until now, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Now I definitely don't sleep at all. And then I got an internship. I did a couple of interviews and I didn't get hired. And I did an interview at the Hit Factory. Criteria.
That was your first?
That was one of my first interviews and I didn't get hired.
Oh, you didn't get hired. Okay, I was going to say your first. I was like, that's crazy.
It was kind of crazy. And then I ended up getting a job as an internship at a private studio for this singer named John Cicada.
And you were a runner there?
Yeah, I was an unpaid intern, but it was cool. So did that I was there at the studio for like 4 months, and then still hustling, trying to getting a real job. And I ended up getting a call back from Trevor from Hit Factory.
Trevor's been there that long?
Trevor grew up there. His mom used to manage the studio. Like Trevor worked there, like he grew up there since he was a kid.
Yeah, so he's like, that's generational studio.
Oh, yeah, he's been there for
that's crazy
forever. So then he calls me. Crazy story of leaving the restaurant to my other internship. Car breaks down. I'm sitting at a gas station. My cell phone rings, and it was a phone number from the Hit Factory because I knew it because one of my best friends that I grew up with that also became a recording engineer. He's actually an incredible recording engineer. He's Damian Marley's engineer.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
nice.
He's done a bunch of stuff. He was working at the Hit Factory at the time. And I remember when I went to interview, I was like, bro, put in a good word. And he's like, dude, it's hard. And
help me out.
He was like, I can't, but I also can't because it's like, you're nervous. It's your, it's your
reputation. Yeah.
So I'm thinking it was him that was calling. His name's Mark Lee. And I pick up the phone like, yo, what's up, bitch? And then I hear on the other line, excuse me. And I'm like, hello? And he's like, I was like, oh shit. I was like, hello? And it's like, hey, this is Trevor from the Hit Factory. I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm so sorry. I thought it was somebody else. He's like, whatever. He's like, listen, look, I got a GA position at the Hit Factory. GAs are the interns, but it's like a paid internship, so they call them general assistants. So they're like, he's like, I have a GA position available, and I still had your resume on my desk. I'm wondering if you're still interested. And I was like, yeah. When do you want me to come in and interview? He's like, no, you don't have to interview again. Like, we're good.
Oh, that's tight.
Yeah.
Damn. So you just got the job.
Right. And I was
broke
like,
down car.
Yeah, so it was pretty
Damn,
awesome.
he called him a bitch too.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, that would have been crazy if it was like, actually, never mind.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy how, like, a life kind of moment for me too was like at some of my lowest points, like when you're just sitting there, like, you could call it God, you could call it whatever, but
Guardian angel.
yeah, you just get this like opportunity that's like, I needed that. And it's like, it always is at your lowest point. I've heard so many people have told me stories about that.
Yeah.
It's funny that happened to you too.
No, yeah, it's true. And you never know where opportunity is going to come
No,
from.
that's why I got to keep trying no matter what.
Yeah. And you always stay open for stuff. Like, once you close yourself, it's like, it's a universe, man. You close yourself to the universe is going to close to you.
Exactly. So you got the GA position.
So I went from being a runner unpaid at one private studio to being a paid runner at another studio. It's not much. It's like less than minimum wage. But it's
paid.
Something.
So
exactly.
yeah, and you're doing what you want to do. So
yeah.
That was your first like big break in a sense, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So like as a runner, I made myself available, like whatever you need, like staying extra, constant, like just being ready because you have to. Like nobody owes you crap, and you learn that the hard way.
Nah,
like,
for reals.
And like when I went to Full Sail, I was like, this is what I'm doing, so I could really dedicated myself. That's why I didn't want to work also while I was at Full Sail because I was like, I know how I am. I don't want any distractions. Like I'm gonna put in, and I graduated like second top of my class.
Something that you just said that kind of like resonated with me. Like you didn't want to work, you wanted to just focus on school. And I know there's so many people and like adults and your parents and just people in the world who will be like, nah, that's tough luck, like you just gotta fucking work and do your job. But like I think something that's really interesting about our careers and our industry, to get to where we're at, sometimes you have to do things that just don't make fucking sense to anybody.
Dude, that's so
and
true.
You literally have to believe in it. Like you just knew, like if I work, I'm not gonna be the best audio engineer. I'm not going to be able to do my shit. And so you just said you have to do it. And sometimes people like, they don't understand it and they're just like, you're a fuck up. But it's like, you knew what you were doing and it fucking paid off. So I think that that's like a very important like moral, is sometimes nobody, not a single person is going to understand, but you will, and you just have to believe that.
You have to believe in what you want and what you're doing. And you have to see your goal and you have to do it. And like, there are like, I mean, because even when I was interning at the Hit Factory, it was like, my family was like, dude, you're not making any money. Like, what are you doing? You're going over there. You're working 10 hours a day. You're fucking cleaning up toilets. You're going to get people's food. Yeah. Like, you didn't go to school for that. You went to school for audio engineering. I was like, yeah, but I did. This is going to get me where I need to go.
You knew, you saw the vision.
Yeah, and it's tough because you're broke. You're hungry. You're like...
just eating shit, basically.
Eating shit, or like you're lucky, like if there's a session and they left over, they ate half the pizza only. You're like, yes, food. I get to eat tonight. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Or like if you're doing a run, you ask at the restaurant, you're like, oh, can I get some extra bread? And then you have an extra bread.
That's crazy.
Sacrifices that you make.
Hey, those are some tips and tricks, guys.
Yeah, it's just little things.
That's
but
wild.
Don't eat the client's food. Ever. Don't pick on people's fries or anything.
Did you eat any?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
Okay.
As tempted as I was, I never grabbed people's fries.
I didn't know if there was like a bad story.
No.
You were doing your GA position. Where was your big break at? Where was like, what would you signify as, this is the moment when I had the opportunity to shine?
Well, big moment that made me jump from being an intern to being an assistant was when Rodney Jerkins came down to start working on the Brandy project.
Okay.
For the Full Moon.
He's a producer,
right? Producer, yeah.
Okay,
he produced
gotcha.
the Full Moon album, and my friend Fabian.
Yeah, Fabian. Oh wow, Fabian.
Like he used to work at the Hit Factory, and he
Fabian
was like,
mixed, whatever. He did a lot of like the big shit. Yeah,
okay. He's one of the top guys. He's amazing.
Heard his name so many times.
Fabian Marshall is the shit. He's like a god.
Yeah,
and I'm lucky to call him a friend.
That's
and
tight.
I owe that guy a lot.
That's awesome.
I owe him a lot. It was one of those things like where he got hired to be the engineer, and he asked Trevor, "Hey, I want Javier to be my assistant."
Okay, so you guys had built a rapport, kind of.
Yeah, I just built a rapport with all the assistants because he was still kind of assisting at the Hit Factory at the time. Still, Trevor was like, "Well, I don't know. He's still an intern. He's only been here like 3-4 months. Like, it's really I don't know." And then Fabian was like, "Look, I like his vibe. He's not an idiot." People don't understand that like just because you're getting food doesn't mean that you don't know, or like. It sounds very little, but if you can get a food order right, you can get through a session right. That just shows confidence. It shows people like, oh, this guy's not an idiot. Like he pays attention. Fabian asked Trevor for me to be his assistant, And even though I was still interning and I hadn't really gotten any real sessions or stuff like that yet, Fabian was like, I'm good because Fabian knew the rooms. He knew everything. He's like, I just like his vibe.
And he knew you didn't fuck up any food orders.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. Fabian's like, I got it. Like, I know everything. Like, I don't need him to know the room because I know it. I know everything. I just like his vibe. And it's really what it comes down to in this industry. It's like, it's not what you know. And this is what Trevor told me after one of my first sessions I ever did the next day. He like, how did it go? Yeah. I told him, and I was like, oh, it was good. He's like, did you learn anything? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, cool. He's like, you're always going to learn something, whether it's how to do something or how not to do something. Right. And he's like, and at the end of the day, you can teach any idiot to push buttons. It's how you get along with the client, and it's how you get along with people.
That's a very, very true thing across the board in this industry for sure. Yeah. Because artists in general are such finicky people. Yeah. Like a lot of the biggest artists are total tweaks. I'm sure you can, speak to that. But if you're able to be cool with those people, and if they like your vibe, and if they walk in the room and they feel comfortable, because I've had people like just not feel comfortable around me, right? And like it kind of sucks because then they're just like, oh, I don't want to work with you, just because like of something that you might have like accidentally did.
Right. And you probably don't even know that you did that.
You were just being normal, and it just tweaked them out. And so there's so much more than just being like a audio. I know how to do everything in the box. Be like, okay, but do you know how to like read the room and then finesse it and do this and blah, blah, blah. But so he's telling you, he's like, how's the session going? Everything's good.
Yeah. I told him, and he's like, all right, cool. That's great. And then I ended up staying on that whole project, which ended up being like a month
This was
long.
Brandy, right?
Yeah, the Brandy stuff.
Okay.
And then fast forward, I think it came back, or it was around the same time too. Rodney starts working on the Michael Jackson project.
Okay. Oh shit.
So he comes down. It was his last album, the Invincible one. So
you were around Michael Jackson for this?
Yeah. So Michael comes down to finish it. So it was Rodney Jerkins and Teddy Riley. They were both co-producing.
Producing. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
So they're both producing. They were both doing this stuff, and then Michael basically had like 4 rooms out of the 6 rooms at the Factory.
That's crazy.
And ended up working on some of that stuff, but I didn't get credit on it because it was like a different room. It was just like,
right, you know how
it happens.
I mean, even back then, back then more, I would say that things would get confused.
Yeah,
a lot of it was in writing. So
yeah, exactly. And then it was just like one of those things, like we were still working on the Brandy project because the room that I was working in was Brandy's project, even though sometimes.
Damn, you didn't sleep at all during those few months, huh?
Yeah, I mean, what's sleep though? Yeah. Like you sleep 4 or 5 hours. It's amazing, but there was a lot of days that I would not go home. Yes, I would sleep on the couch, and it's just basically like you're like, dude, I'd rather sleep on an extra hour on the couch in the studio than sit in traffic for like 2 hours.
That's rough.
So you just turn off all the lights and you just stay in the studio, and you wake up early before your session starts, and you run to Target and get new underwear. And then and then new socks, and then and fresh tea. That's fresh white tea. Hey, thankfully, the studio has showers, so
yeah, that's true. They do have showers there. All right, so fast forward, couple years, months, whatever it is, you have a position where you become T-Pain's main audio engineer. How did that come about?
Actually, that story is kind of funny, but not really. Like, I was already, been at the Factory for like 7 years. I would take some assistant gigs, but it was just something that I really like would be like sessions, but it was mostly engineering. I remember I had taken this gig because I'd rather be working and sitting in the studio than not doing anything. And it was one of those sessions that like it could have finished at 1 a.m. and I'm leaving the studio at like 10 a.m. because the producer and the engineer were just hacks. Well, first of all, the engineer was a hack, and I ended up doing everything, which used to happen a lot. Like
this was, they just were just shit.
Yeah, like he didn't know anything, and you end up doing everything, and he's an engineer because what? Guess why? Because they like his vibe. They like his real shit. Technically, he's a moron. So you know the console, and you know how to set up mics, and you know how to do. You end up doing all the work, and that engineer that is a hack keeps being a hack, but he knows how to,
So now he's
make
almost
it seem
getting
like
the credit.
He's the guy that he's doing everything. And which actually did end up happening because the producer called him and he said, hey, let's try pitching this song up because I think it'll be better, blah, blah. He's like, do it before I get there. So the guy's like, okay. And he didn't know how to do it. So he's like, oh, I don't know how to do it, blah, blah. And he's like I saw that he was fumbling because he's trying to figure out how to pitch a song up. And back then it was a little bit harder. It wasn't just like Ableton now where you just go one key up. Yeah, that's it. So I did it. Producer shows up. He plays it and he goes, "Oh man, that's so much better, dude. That sounds great." He turns to the engineer. He goes, "Dude, great job." And the guy, instead of being like, "Oh, he did it," or like, "Thanks, but we did it," or whatever, he's like, "Dude, thanks. Yeah, it wasn't that hard."
What a fucking piece of shit.
Exactly. In my head, I'm like, "You fuck." And for that, I'm like, all right. Like, I hate to do that, but I was like,
yeah,
fuck this. Like, dude,
you spoke up at this time?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
Because I was just I just looked at him, and he looked at me, and I'm like, I shouldn't even be doing this session.
Yeah.
I just did it because I wasn't working that day, and I got a phone call and said, "Hey, you want to come in and do this?" I was like, "Okay, cool." So I'm pissed off, and then obviously, like I said, it could have finished at 1, but the engineer was such a hack when I ended up leaving the studio at like almost 10 a.m. Get home, my phone rings, and I'm like, I don't know who it says, so I pick up, and then it's the other person on the line is like, "Hey, what's up, bro? Is this Javier?" And I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Yeah, this is Rocco, T-Pain's manager." Shout out to Rocco Valdez. Rocco now is a big producer. He's been producing a lot of good stuff.
That's tight.
More than a couple #1 hits. Amazing career that he's had. He went from being a manager to being a #1 producer.
That's tight.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
That's super cool.
And out of Hialeah, bro.
Out of Hialeah?
Yeah.
Yo, shout out Hialeah.
Hialeah, dog. So he's like, "Hey, listen, I'm T-Pain's manager. He told me to get a hold of you because he wants to, he's trying to see if you're available. He wants to hire you as his engineer."
So your work was kind of speaking for itself now.
Yes, a little bit. Yeah.
Did you ever find out what piece of work he heard that tagged you in? Because I know that can be like a super cool.
Yeah. So what happened was like 6 months prior to that, he had come in the studio, and I ended up taking that gig.
Mm-hmm.
And his engineer, let's just say his engineer went out to dinner.
Yeah.
And Payne needed to record, and there was nobody to record him.
Right.
Because his engineer went out to dinner instead of being in the studio recording. And I ended up recording him. Good, whatever. I think it was Welcome to My Hood or something like that.
Okay. And that was kind of the defining moment of when he
I didn't even think about
you.
it. Yeah, I guess. I didn't even think any of it. To me, it was just another session, but he was such a cool vibe. He's such a funny guy.
He's still now to this day.
Yeah, so I was like,
such cool vibes.
This is so fun. And then 6 months later, Rocco's like gets a hold of me, and I don't remember giving anybody my phone number or anything. Damn. So he got a hold of me through Fabian, I think.
Okay.
Shout out to Fabian again. And he's like, "Look, Payne just fired his engineer. He wants to know if you're interested to be his engineer full time." And this is right when Payne was like about to take off. Like he was taking off already. He already had Welcome to My Hood. I think I'm in love with the Stripper was just out. I came in right after you dropped Epiphany.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I did do some work on Epiphany. That's when I met him for like one day.
Right.
Whatever. So then he calls me 1:00, and he's like, "Hey, so this is the thing. He's firing his engineer. He told me, are you available? Is it something you'd be interested?" And I was like, immediately, I'm like, "Hell yeah."
Yeah.
I'm like,
There's
"Yeah,
no
of
hesitation
course."
to it. That's tight.
And he's like, "All right, cool." And then we talked
money
logistics.
And all that. Yeah.
And he's like, "Cool. Can you be in Atlanta today at 7?" And I'm like, fuck, I'm in Miami. And he's like, "Well, let me know, bro, because I need to know right now." And I was like, "All right, give me a couple hours. I should be good."
Yeah.
And he's like, "All right, cool. I'll have the girl from the office call you with your flight info and all that stuff." So got off the phone, called my girlfriend at the time. It was her birthday that day, and I had reservations to go out to dinner. And I'm like, "Hey, so happy birthday. And also, I got to leave to Atlanta tonight because this thing happened."
Wild.
And she was like, "What the fuck?" But whatever. She was actually very nice. She understood the
cool.
nature of my
industry,
of what I do. So she was like, "Cool."
So you took the job. You fly to Atlanta now.
Fly to Atlanta.
You have to be there at 7 p.m. You land.
Somebody from his camp picks me up.
Nice.
Shout out to Boogie. Get to his house. I walk in. Payne's on the computer. He has his keyboardist, Dave Balfour, and Frank Romano, guitarist, are in there too. And I walk into his house. He already had, he has like 2 studios already.
Right.
And he has a couple of his artists in the other room working. Get into the house. I walk into the studio. We're in Payne's room, Payne's studio, and I see Payne. And Payne's like, "Hey, Javier." And I was like, "Hey, what's up, Payne?" He's like, "Man, long time no see." I was like, "Well, you're going to be seeing a lot from me now." And Payne's like, "I don't know, dude. They've been dropping like flies." And I was like, "Well, good thing I'm a fucking bee." And he was like, "Oh shit, ha ha ha," and I don't know, like that just came out naturally, like just saying that shit. And I didn't even think of just said it
It's
like
just
as a joke
natural,
because I
right?
knew like his vibe already. As an engineer, that's your number one thing that you do besides the technical stuff is knowing how to read the artist or the producer, becoming a chameleon and being able to
It's multitasking in a sense.
fold your personality to not stop their
Yeah.
workflow, not stop their creativity, and blend in. So you know he starts laughing. They're all laughing. They're like, "Oh man, that's great," blah blah. And they keep working because you know they were already in the zone. They had been working all day, you know, on the record or whatever. And then I'm like, cool. And then he goes to open up one of the songs that they did earlier, and it doesn't. It's like missing files. And he uses Logic. At the time, he was using Logic. So he's like, "What the fuck? Like, how did I lose these two songs?" And this and then I'm like, I've never really used Logic, so I was
Right.
like, shit. So I was like, well, let me see. I asked him, let me see in the computer, and I just basically just did like regular troubleshooting, and I was able to like reconstruct his Logic session by just like doing like
Like
just standard file
regular stuff.
management.
Yeah, that's tight.
And I
though.
never even heard the song or anything. It was just like, oh, it was called this, and it
Just
was at this
linking
time.
it, yeah.
Click, link, double click, drag, drag, drag. And he was like, "What the fuck? How'd you do that?" And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I have no idea how to fuck it. I was like, no, it's just like you just gotta like. I just did search for the names and the dates and like the timestamps. And
He was
like,
thought you were a genie.
and he's like, dude, that's fucking awesome. And I'm like,
It-
fuck yeah. So I walk outside to smoke a cigarette right after doing that to be
Yeah.
like, to give myself a high five, like, fuck yeah. And then the funny thing is, like, as soon as I'm walking out, I see the two interns because they had walked out
Yeah.
before me. And I opened the door, and one of them was like, "See, that's how you fucking get a job." And then I walked out, and they're like, "Oh, hey," and I was like,
You're kind of just like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do, and it's gonna be okay.
Right.
So that's pretty tight
It
to
is
think.
good. But that also comes to like my good friend Carlos Alvarez that I used to assist a lot back in the day. He's an amazing engineer. He was Julio Iglesias' engineer. So I did a couple of Julio Iglesias projects with him as an assistant. And actually, my Grammy that I won, my first Grammy for Senor Bachata, was with a project that I worked with him on because he was engineering and he called me up. He's like, "Bro, can you help me out?" Because he was working on something else and he needed extra hands. And so, like, brought me onto this project. And then we ended up working on a project together. And then, like, it won a Grammy. Like, really, that one? But yeah, so what Carlos told me always was like, "Look, don't worry about it." He's like, it's really like flying a plane. Like the more hours you're in the pilot seat,
Yeah.
everything becomes natural.
Yeah, definitely.
And I never realized that until you are flying the plane and you're like, oh, you just do things subconsciously. Like you said, you walk in, you don't think about stuff. You're just doing what you do. But yeah, so then back to Pain. Then that's it. And then fast forward 8 years, and we did 3 albums together, 10 mixtapes, 1,000 features.
Wow.
2,000 songs, unreleased songs.
Yeah. Is there like an unreleased song that you wish came out?
Yeah, there's a couple, but I think one of them, maybe it came out on the mixtape though. It was "All Your Bass Is Belong to Us." I don't know if you remember, like back in like the 2010, there was like a meme, like it was like a robot thing.
probably
It
not.
wasn't really a meme because there weren't memes back in
Yeah.
2010, 2012, but it was like a viral thing that was like a robot saying, "All your bass now belongs to us," and like, of course, the genius that Payne is took that line and made it into a whole song.
Oh wow.
And like regarding
so it,
like
took
bass,
off,
like
yeah.
all your basses belong to us.
So I wanted to kind of get into more T-Pain stuff because I feel like that was one of the biggest pivotal moments for you, and I think that I feel like you worked with him so much. Do you feel like that led you to get more connections through T-Pain?
I don't think I had like a name because I was still like an assistant and an engineer. Like I was in the in between, right, making that jump. But yeah, but now it's like you're somebody's personal engineer, and it's funny because people do treat you different. Like one time,
Yeah.
for example, before I started working with Payne, I went out to LA to visit somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Oh, I'm out here. Let me go check out some studios while I'm here." So I would call up. I think I called like, I'm not gonna say any names, but like let's say the record plant,
Yeah.
or like another like big. I called big studios. I was like, "Hey, look, my name's blah blah blah. I'm an engineer. I work at the Hay Factory in Miami. I'm in town and I want to just tour your studios."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, sorry, no." Like, people are just
Yeah.
like, "No, we don't have time, this and that." Same studio that will like shut the doors on me. They're like, "No, we're not gonna give you a tour."
Yeah.
We went out to LA with Payne, and they're like,
Kiss ass.
a little like silver platter with like snacks and a little note. Welcome, Javier, and please let us know whatever you need. So it's really crazy how people perceive you, and it's fucking nuts because you're like, I'm still the same guy. I've always felt like I'm the same guy since before I went to Full Sail. Like I feel like my personality has just been me. This is who I am. You know, it's like one of those things you're like, it's funny how like the industry works. Let's say you walk in a room and you get somebody coffee, they might see you as like, oh, that's the coffee guy.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm actually like the producer. I just happen to be nice and tell you want some coffee.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of crazy how like how you a lot of the things how you come in is how people are gonna perceive you.
What sucks about that too is that I mean for me personally, and I think I can speak for you as well, is we're very much more like humble people. Mm-hmm. It's like we don't do this because we want to tell people who we worked with. Like we don't want to be mega famous for any reason other than like we just love this and we just happen to be in this position and we met so and so. So it's really like people might be like, oh, you're just a videographer.
Right.
I don't say anything. I just kind of let it be. And then like a week later, they're like, hey, did you meet bro? And they'll be like, yeah, he's a tight videographer. And he goes, nah, bro, he directed for blah, 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 blah. And I kind of just sit there and go. And they're like, why didn't you tell us? And I'm like,
it didn't come up. You didn't ask.
You're not going to walk in the room and be like, oh, that's just the audio engineer. Be like, I have a Grammy. Like, you're just not going to do that because that's just not what got you there.
It's true. Like, we're just humble people and you're like, whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, I learned very early not to take shit personal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whatever.
Oh, yeah. So true.
And I've worked with, like, I've been lucky and blessed to work with, like, some big name people. And they're, like, the fucking nicest and most humble person.
Right.
And they fucking go up to, like, even the cleaning lady and be like, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. Like,
those are the people that stick in my head forever.
And then it's like, and then you meet some asshole, like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, whatever, the world, just fucking record. And you're like, cool, whatever.
Like, yeah, last time I worked with you. I guess touching on that, I know we were talking about T-Pain, but you mentioned some of the biggest people ever, so nice. But I think you told me Michael Jackson was probably one of the nicest people you were able to work with.
He was.
You said he was like one of the kindest people you've ever been around.
The story I think I told you was a popcorn story, right? Like, where like, so since he was working in another room, we were going, at the time, there was no, like, we had to burn CDs and be like, oh, here, take this.
That's how you bounce
instrumental.
tracks.
Yeah, take this bounce.
Okay.
After you bounce it, you burn a CD and you take it over there because there's no like airdrop or anything like that. So he took it to the other room. So Michael would put the CD in and listen to it. Be like, oh, that's great. So one time I took it over there. I'm walking back out, and he was in the lounge with his kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm walking back to my room, and then I see like there was like popcorn on the floor, and Michael like was on his knees cleaning up popcorn, and I'm like. And I walk in, and I was like, oh, no, I'll call somebody to come and clean that up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, they're my kids. I clean up after them. You're like,
wow.
Bro, you're fucking Michael Jackson. Like, at that time, there was, like, Coca-Cola and Michael Jackson, the two most famous things in the world.
And he's here cleaning up popcorn from his kids.
He's just on his knees, like, cleaning up popcorn from his kids.
I think that's what made him who he is because, I mean, yes, the music inside of stuff. But I think when you're bigger than life, when you're not just an artist, when you become a character or an icon, I think it goes to show like having that human nature is what makes you that icon because people connect with you. If you're just some airhead who's like has no connection to Earth, people they can't really get along with you. You might be fun to watch, but they're not gonna like vibe with you. Somebody I would say like that. I haven't had the opportunity to work with them, and I say opportunity because I'd like to. Is Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Really?
I've actually worked with a few people because he stays out here in Miami, and I've worked with a few people who've worked with him. And he worked at a Robot Studios one time. He shot a video there, and he was like, he came in, talked to everybody, was very like thankful to everybody on set, and was just a very like genuine person. And I've heard a lot of stories about that and him being this, that, and the other. But those things are what speak to me. Is hey, he came on a film set, which is what I do, and he was awesome to everybody. So for me, it's like I'm like, hey, I like that guy. Yeah. Say what you want about him, but from my perspective,
hey, he showed me the respect.
Yeah, good person. Amazing. Yeah. You that sticks with you.
And you never know, dude. You never know who's who or who's coming up, who's coming down. Like, and it's like it's not. You don't do it because I don't know where you're gonna be next year, or you just do it because that's your nature, and it should be like. It makes the world a better place. Period.
Just to be nice to people in general.
I was Glock 9's engineer for a while. So crazy story about that, like with Glock.
Yeah.
I mean, here's an 18-year-old kid, right? And him and his crew. Free Glock.
Free Glock.
But he was fucking the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Like, super. Everybody in his crew, super nice. Like, they would be in the session. We do a whole session, 8 hours, 10 hours. Session ended. It was like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to leave. and I turn around, right, because I'm in the computer doing whatever, and they're cleaning up, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
And
that's
here are
wild.
like these like gangster kids that are like cleaning after themselves
Yeah.
and like leaving the studio clean, and I was like,
That's
I fuck with this, like I fuck with
Yeah.
that vibe,
It meant a
like I
lot.
respect, and it goes a lot, and it's not my studio, so I could care less, and there's interns that come and clean or whatever, but it's just like it just goes to show you like the mentality that he has. Yeah.
One little action that seems so basic can mean something so much more in their whole personality.
Right,
And that's
and
something
even that, like,
important to
bro,
see.
that speaks a lot about who they are as people. They
Yeah.
clean up, like, bro.
After
You clean
themselves.
up after you. You
Look
gotta
out
clean up
for
your
that.
shit. Yeah, don't be
That's tight.
sloppy, bro.
He was actually
don't be sloppy.
he was actually one of the people I was going to ask about because I
Oh, wow.
remember you guys were in there. I remember when
Yeah.
we first got there. We kind of talked a little bit about the T-Pain stuff. How long did you work with T-Pain?
Shit, about 10 years almost, from like
10 years?
2008 to 2016.
2008 as the day that you were landed in Atlanta, kind of
March
thing.
March 5th, 2008
Was
is
when
when I
you-
landed.
Nice.
Then I stopped working with him in 2016, like August.
Okay.
Around August of 2016. And it was mostly like
Yeah, I was going to ask why'd you stop working?
I wanted to move back home. Like I wanted
Okay.
to move back to Miami.
'Cause you were in
really.
Georgia
Like,
this
I was-
whole time.
Yeah, I was in Atlanta the whole time.
Atlanta.
I mean, it was kind of crazy because the first 3 years, maybe even the first 4 years, we were in Miami a lot working.
Yeah.
So to me, it never felt like I was, in Atlanta. And then when he stopped coming down here a lot, and it was like, okay, I really have to move up there because when I was up there working with him those first couple of years, he would had housing for like. For
Right.
us, he rented like an apartment for me and the other engineer or his personal assistant. So we all lived together. It was kind of cool. And then at the same time, it was like
You missed home a little
frat.
bit.
No, like for that aspect of it was like, yeah, because it's like, it's not my house. Like I'm a grown ass man. No offense to anybody, but bro, I just want to go in my own world, in my own space. I want to disconnect. Which is cool. And then finally, I was like, okay, I gotta make the move because I'm gonna stay working with Pain. So I moved full time up there.
That's hard. I don't
know.
I don't have any family in Miami.
Here.
I'm-
Well, you have me, so you're good. You're
yeah,
family.
it's good, brother. It's good.
Yeah.
But
You gotta
yeah,
call me more often.
I
I'll get
call
lost.
you. I talk to you sometimes. But yeah, so you basically you made the call to move back to Miami. Were things already at a point where like you felt like you could step down, or was it like a hard conversation to be like, hey, bro, I'm gonna go?
I feel like it wasn't hard, but it also was. I felt it was like a breakup, but it wasn't like
It's like a consensual
yeah.
breakup.
It was just like, it was weird time for him too because he was changing managers and the new management wasn't really communicating with me that well, and I felt like there was no communication with me. And this, mind you, this is already like the third management change that he had since I've been there, or maybe even fourth.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed consistent. Out of all the managers that he got rid of and all the assistants and
You were
everybody,
through all
it
of
was just
that
him and
for
me
10
always.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was just him and me always. And at
Okay.
the end of the day, it was always just him and me in the studio. That's it. No, there was nobody else. It wasn't like he parties every day. He bring his whole
Yeah.
crew to the studio, And there was just kind of like a loss of communication, and maybe it could have been better. It wasn't a bitter. I didn't feel like it was bitter because maybe. I was already feeling like I want to move, and maybe I didn't like communicate it with him as well. I just saw the opportunity to be like, hey, I gotta go,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, oh, okay, and then I was like, yeah,
That's
I'm
tough.
moving back to Miami, and he really kind of slowed down with the recording too at the time.
Yeah.
So
it kind of fit into the.
yeah, because there's already been like a couple months where it was like, are we working? Are we not working? He was on tour. He was in China for like 2-3 weeks.
And you were just in Atlanta.
Yeah, and I'm in Atlanta, and that's fine because before it used to be like that. But a lot of times I would travel with him because he would stay recording wherever we were.
But now you're not.
But
there.
now we weren't, so I'm sitting in Atlanta like, what am I doing? And then
And you were salaried?
I was salaried.
So you were getting paid, but it was kind of like there was no, like you were just kicking it.
right, and that's cool. And then you also start feeling like a dick. Like you kind of feel like, am I like, taking advantage of somebody? But you're really not. That's your job, and they gave you salary, which is amazing to have salary.
Right, of course.
You know.
Did you feel like your work ethic kind of got hit a little bit?
Yes and no. The tip on that, it's great because you know where your next check is coming next month
Right.
from this artist, but then you kind of like get lazy in the hustle mode. And
Yeah.
since I was with Pain for like so long, like when I left him, it was like a big shock to be like, oh fuck, I really gotta hustle.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what I've worked in or my name or this and that, because a lot of it is like, what have you done lately?
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
it's like, what's your last project that you done? Like, and also after when I left Pain and I moved back down here, a lot of the key players that were down here weren't here anymore because this music industry changes so much.
You were kind of not a non-entity, but you were just an engineer.
Yeah. I was just saying, oh, cool. You're a paint engineer. Cool. Oh, you did that. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, bro. Let me get your digits.
Right. So it
And
kind
then
of gave you,
crickets.
it gave you a little bit of something you could do, but it didn't mean it solidified your
Exactly.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a big move, I guess. And I didn't know that was how that happened. But talk to me about how when you left T-Pain, where did it kind of go from there? Because some of your credentials are, I mean, you've worked with so many people. How did you get your feet back under you?
Well, back to that, like, can't say no to sessions. Like, you know,
You're
just
back
like,
on your hustle.
I'm back on my hustle, like trying to just. I'm not tooting my own horn or anything, but I was once I decided to become an audio engineer, a recording engineer. Like, I really just dedicated everything to it. Like, I really did. I've missed birthdays. I've missed baptisms. I missed funerals. Like, I've been at the fucking airport checking in and get a phone call. Hey, can you come in? I'm in an airport about to check in. So was I? And you're like, fuck. So do I do? Like, I've missed, and it's what you do, you know. And it's like you don't realize all the sacrifices. Like, you don't see your people. You don't see. Like, I went through the depression for a little bit because I was working so much. I wouldn't see any of my friends. I wouldn't see like anybody. And there was like a good spell of like 2-3 months where it was just like studio, my house, and I even became a little bit agoraphobic. Is that what the word? Like when you're scared to go outside. So like I legit like I would have to call my friends like, hey bro, I gotta go to Publix. You want to go with me?
Yeah.
Because I never felt uncomfortable. It wasn't like I didn't feel uncomfortable with people when in the studio. It was the studio was my but like going to Publix, normal life, like I would get social anxiety.
That's
I was getting social
crazy.
anxiety
Because you were in the studio so much.
Yeah.
Was this with T-Pain or was
No,
this
way
after?
Before Pain. This is
this
way
before.
before Pain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember leaving the session like one night. It was 4 a.m. I stopped at a red light. I get off the exit from the highway, and I'm like thinking about like, what the fuck, bro? Like my life sucks. I don't get to see my friends. I don't do anything. All I do is work. Like this is like, what am I doing? And the light turns green, and I'm still kind of like in my head, and the car next to me takes off, and this car is hauling ass and takes the red light and fucking T-bones them. Now I'm like, holy crap!
Wow.
Like the cars flip, and I'm like, holy shit! Like it could have been me,
Yeah.
But like I kind of like and I was like, I pull over. Like everybody, it's 4 a.m. out of nowhere. Like a bunch of people showed up, and there was like a baby in the car. It was just like a fucking crazy, fucked up scene. Thankfully, the baby was fine, but you know, like it was just like one of those like, holy like, dude.
Yeah, that could have been
lucky.
me.
Yeah, that could have been me. Like, be grateful, and that ignited like you don't have social anxiety. You're like you can't like.
Yeah.
You need to force yourself to go out there and like do things, and you have to do it.
What's crazy about that kind of feeling you said right there of having to force yourself. Not only could you have just been terrified and never gone outside again because you were like, I could have died, but you chose to like push yourself. I think for me, that's something that I had to like go through a lot these past 2 months. Was there was so many times where I was just like stopped up. I was just like, I'm fucked. Like anxiety, depression, every possible thing was just taking over my entire feeling. And I remember there was sometimes when I would just fucking get drunk or whatever. But for the most part, I think I got to a point where I was just like, okay, like you just have to do it. Like you just have to power through it. Like it's going to be ass and it's going to suck and it's going to be the worst experience of your life. But if you don't do it, you're just going to lay in misery all day. Yeah. And so I think that that's like a parallel that I have with what you were saying too, is there's a certain point where you just come and you just go, all right, you know what? I got to take this bull by the horns and figure this shit out because it's not getting any better.
Right. And nobody's going to come get it.
No,
and
nobody.
You would think, and it's crazy because nobody knows how hard you're going through it or whatever, except yourself.
Yeah.
You know? And then even your girlfriend, your spouse, your parents, whatever, they still don't know. And sometimes it could be you get in your head, and if you're alone, it's even fucking harder.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you're right. You have to power through it. You know why? Because you chose. There's something that makes you happy in what you would do. Like this is a new pivot for you. Like this podcast.
I love this shit.
Yeah,
but I have so much fun.
And it's a part of like what you already did that you love.
Yeah, it's an extension of it.
Yeah, it's an extension of it. So it's like, dude, like you're always gonna go back to like, I love being somewhat creative. I love doing, the camera, this and that, and it's like that's what's gonna help you get out of whatever you're going through. That's what helped you get to where you are right now, because you have some fucking amazing credits underneath your belt,
definitely.
bro. Like since I met you, Shanghai, like I was like, bro. Every time I see you, I'm like, bro.
That
so
story
fucking
arc's crazy.
proud. So
Thank
proud
you,
of like what this kid is doing with like his life.
I think coming to Miami, I was COVID. I was here. I was gonna fly home.
Yeah. Bro, you went to Walmart for us.
I remember that. We were hanging out. Yeah. We hung out right before COVID. You gave us ginger shots.
Yeah,
I remember
that night of COVID, like
the night. Yo, literally, I think that was the night.
Yeah, we were talking about like there's gonna be
the next day everything shut down.
Yeah, and we're like, I don't have food, and you guys were like, shit, we don't have food either. So
I went to Walmart and I bought a bunch
and you're
of
like, I can go to Walmart and get shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes.
I think I got COVID that day too.
Damn.
Like I got sick as fuck. I was the first one at the house that got sick.
Really?
Everybody else was fine.
Wow.
But yeah, I think when I got to Miami, I think
because you're white.
It's because I'm white. COVID only attacks white people. I think,
China.
Yeah, definitely Shanghai.
Shanghai, that's why.
I think definitely like coming to Miami was like, I remember I called my mom when COVID was happening and I was freaking out because I have like health anxiety and shit. So I was like scared and I didn't have any money. I didn't have a career. I was like hanging out with lacrosse. Shout out lacrosse. Yeah. He always looked out for me. But at the same time, I was like, I'm 24 at the time, and I was like, I kind of want to have some like solidification of my own career.
Yeah.
And I called my mom and I was kind of just like, I'm scared as fuck, but I'm not gonna come home. And I was like, fuck this. I don't want to come home because if I come home, then I'm giving up on everything that I was working on. Like, this is scary as fuck. It's a global pandemic, but running away is not going to do anything for me. And I think COVID for me, I think for a lot of people, but for me, it was a really pivotal time because I stayed, stuck it out. Miami was still pretty much open after a while.
Yeah.
And I just started getting hired on film sets because a lot of people weren't working and I was like, I'll work. Yeah. And that was kind of like where I got in and I started like editing and started meeting the right people. So I don't think if I stayed for COVID, it would have happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, just keep power through, guys.
You have to just power through it.
Shit's tough, but it's your own willpower that's gonna make you win. Yeah, that's life.
And it's like your willpower that's gonna make you power through it, and it's that same willpower that's gonna give you like joy, like and you can measure everybody's success is measured individually, right? Like that Bob Marley interview when that guy's asking Bob Marley, he's like, are you successful? He's like, define success. He's like, do you have a lot of money? Do you have a lot of? And then Bob Marley's like money makes you successful, like possessions make you successful.
That's what makes you successful.
Like, is that what success is? He's like, I don't know. Do you? And he's like, I don't think so. And it's like Bob Marley, that wasn't his measurement of success.
Yeah.
And everybody has a different, like, success could be just getting the fuck out of bed that day, dude.
Yeah. Every day it's a little bit more.
Yeah.
The more you move forward in your journey and whatever it may be, the more you kind of have to start identifying like your success. Because when you're younger, of course, money, fame, and everything you've ever wanted to purchase in your life is a thing. And then you start to get there and you start to, maybe that's what you chased and you get there. Maybe you just can't achieve it. And then you'll get sad about it, or you realize money doesn't buy happiness. And you start to realize like, okay, what would make me successful?
Right.
And sometimes that's just being personally happy.
Yeah.
I think that's really what everyone should be. I still want a fucking Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
I want one,
but that doesn't mean you're successful. You just want a Ferrari.
I just want a Ferrari. I might sell it the next day, but I just want one for like 24 hours.
So you basically have to be better than tomorrow.
Better than yesterday?
Oh, yesterday.
You can be better than tomorrow too.
Sorry, I fucked that up. That was such a good fucking time to like go, and then like you thought you were like an asshole trying to be slick.
We talked a little bit about the T-Pain stuff. We might have more on that. We might get a crazy episode out of that. But I wanted to talk to you about some of the artists you worked with, DMX, Timberland. I saw you have some credits in there where it said like Britney Spears and stuff. I know you've talked about when you worked with Drake and like maybe Justin Bieber here and there. But there are some huge icons you've worked with, maybe one or two that you've worked with that really stood out to you, or some cool stories.
Prince?
Yeah. Oh wow, I forgot you did.
Prince was a cool story. It was I don't even know if this song ever came out, but like I guess he was working in Panama, like doing something. He had flown out to Panama, to like the jungles of Panama.
To work?
Yeah, like to record some percussion, like some Panamanian percussion.
That's wild.
Like insane, like total Prince shit that he would do.
Yeah.
These percussions need to be recorded by this guy in the village, in the middle of nowhere in the jungles of Panama. So like on his way back, he stopped in Miami, and he booked some studio time at the Hit Factory, and they got put on that session. And the night before, somebody came in, and it was his engineer for his personal engineer. He came in, and he's with all his gear, because his gear got shipped in. And all this shit, and then he came in, and it was just him and me, like setting up and getting all the stuff ready. And he's like, "Cool." He's like, "I'm out." He's like, "So he's gonna come in tomorrow, and should be good. Like, if not, you got it." And I'm like, "Fuck."
Not you
like,
got
what?
it.
Like,
this was Prince's engineer that told you this.
Yeah, but he
So
wasn't. He was going home. He flew in
going
just to set him up.
Wow.
And he goes, and I'll be back in like 4 days to
So
like
he just
break
left you in
to
charge.
break down. Like, so,
that's crazy.
Because he records everything himself. He does everything himself. Prince
does.
Always,
so he doesn't want anybody.
Yeah. So basically, he just needs somebody just in case shit goes down.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the fuck? So he comes in, the next day, and it's like, holy fuck, it's Prince. As much as you're like, holy shit, it's Michael Jackson. It's also a level of Prince.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're like, shit. So I'm like, are you good? Are you anything that you want? And he's like, no, I'm good. Blah blah blah. And the guy told me, he's like, he wants to be in the room alone. He doesn't want anybody in there. So just make yourself, just make yourself accessible, but outside of the room. So I'm in the lounge, just sitting there the whole time, just watching TV or like whatever on my laptop, and he comes out like after like 6 hours the first day, and mind you, he has fucking heels this high, like he's wearing a purple
full on Prince,
purple suit, fucking high heels, like hey, like you're like what the fuck. So then he's like, can I get some creamer like for his coffee?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sure. Any flavor in particular or whatever? He's like, yeah, vanilla. And I was like, all right. He's like, non-dairy. He's like, can I get non-dairy creamer? We're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Send the runner out. Goes back to what we were saying. Send the runner out. Hey, get me non-dairy vanilla.
Oh,
creamer.
no. Fuck, I already see.
Comes back with just, like, it says, it's powdered cream. And I'm like, and it wasn't even vanilla. I was like, bro, like, dude, go back out. Like, what the fuck? I can't even show it to him.
Yeah.
Comes back out like 20 minutes later. Is the creamer here yet? Because he wants his fucking coffee.
Yeah.
He's in the zone. He's vibing. And it's like, sorry, he got the wrong creamer. My bad. I had to send him out. He's like, okay, cool. Let me know. Comes back in. The kid comes back, and he gets me vanilla creamer, but it has dairy in it. He came out right when he was coming. He's like, oh, okay. He goes, and he goes, no. He goes, this is dairy. And I was like, I know. Sorry, I was trying to get him to do it, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, I look like a fucking idiot. He asked me for creamer, and this asshole, don't mean to call him an asshole, but this kid that doesn't like you're making me look bad, and shit rolls downhill, unfortunately, because now Prince is looking at me because he asked me, and now he looks at me like I'm the idiot that doesn't know how to get creamer.
Yeah.
But it's not me. It's the guy that I have to give it to, hand it down. So it's 2 hours later. He still hasn't had his coffee, and I'm like, what the fuck? Finally, he gets here, and it's a non-dairy powdered creamer, and I put it there, and I make a fresh pot and everything. I go in there and I was like, hey, I was like, the creamer's here finally. He's like, is it? And I was like, yeah, sorry about that. It took so long. He's like, okay, no worries. So he walks out. I'm sitting in the lounge like this. He walks out of the room here. He walks out to the coffee, right? Like the coffee stuff is like here. Like, this is where the coffee is. He like walks in his high heels, and he's like looking at the creamer.
Yeah.
And he looks up and he's like, that's the stuff. And he just like pours it down, and he clears it, and he puts it back down, and he like turns around, and he's like cheers, and he walks back in the studio like giving me a cheers with the coffee, and I was like, dude, that's the funniest shit. I was
That's
like,
the
what the fuck? He's like, that's
yo,
the stuff.
that's hilarious. Is there another one that sticks out? I know I saw that you talked about the DMX one on Instagram when he had passed.
First day I met him, like when we were working, we ended up working on doing a project, and I had moved to New York. I was trying to move to New York, and I couldn't get gigs up there. And then somebody called me. He's like, yo, what are you doing up there? And I'm like, looking for work. And they're like, well, I got a DMX project down here that starts on Thursday if you want. It's like for 3 weeks. And I was like, I'm on a flight tomorrow. X comes in, and he was always known. He's like, oh, what's up? You can be like, hey, what's up? I'm Shanghai. And he's like, no, you're not.
he would make your name
Shang
up.
Lo, whatever. Like, yeah, he'll just fuck your name up, and just like this is how he
You're not gonna say anything about it.
Yeah, and I already knew about it because I had friends that worked with him already.
Yeah,
and
so you knew it was coming.
Yeah, so then I was like, hey, what's up? My name's I'm Javier, I'm the engineer. He's like, what's your name? And I was like, Javier. And he's like, what? Oh, I like that name. My son's name is Xavier. That's cool. You're Xavier now. And I was like, all right, that's fine. I was like, I'll take it. It's not that far off. I'll take Xavier.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So then we're working and then like doing all this project. And then one day, like it's like we're supposed to start like at 3 p.m. I think or something like that. And it's like 5. He's not showing up. We're like, dude, it's 6 o'clock. Where the fuck is he? It's like 7 or something like that. And then finally he shows up and he has a Winn-Dixie apron. I don't know if you people
I know
don't know.
Winn-Dixie.
Winn-Dixie is like a supermarket. It's like Kroger or it's like it's a supermarket down here in Florida. I think they have them other places too.
Yeah. So.
And he's wearing an apron and with a name tag that says DMX. And he walks in and like I think he had a grocery bag too. And I was like, hey, what's up? And he's like, hey, dog, sorry I'm late. I was bagging groceries. And we're like, what? I was like, what? He's like, yeah, man, I went to buy some shit. I saw people needed help, so I started bagging groceries.
That's
wild. And they said no. It was 3 hours later. I was like, dude, that's fucking awesome.
They gave him a name tag and everything.
Of course, it's DMX. And imagine like you're going grocery shopping and fucking DMX is bagging your groceries. Like, but he's like you would think like, damn, he's hit it low. But no, he was just doing it because he was like, fuck it, I'm bored. I'm like, this is fun.
They needed help.
Yeah.
Yo, I've heard
like,
I've heard
crazy.
other stories like here and there about what DMX did and like how he was as like a person giving back and everything.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, man.
The other story that I wasn't in the project, but my friend
Yeah.
Mark Lee, one of my best friends, was in the project. There was the whole Rough Rider crew.
Yeah.
They're fucking like they're there, and then they were like, he comes out laughing, and he's like, bro, they're fucking going crazy in there, and he's like, what? He's like, dude, he's like telling you, oh, I'll give you $1,000 if you eat this. He goes, this guy just ate like the insides of a blunt for $1,000. Then he comes back out, dude. Now he's telling people to eat fucking his dog poop because he had little puppies, and then the intern, he's like, I'll do it. And he goes, what? He goes, wait. And one of his friends out with DMX's crew heard him. And he goes, what? He goes, hold on. He runs in. And he goes, yo, come in. And Mark comes out. And he goes, what the fuck? And the kid fucking ate a spoonful of fucking poop for $1,000, a dog poop.
My
and they were
God.
like, what? And then somehow he got back to Trevor. And the kid got fired the next day.
I mean, he got $1,000, right?
Yeah. He got $1,000. And then he moved to LA like a couple of weeks later after getting fired. So.
Hey, man, maybe that was his story arc.
Could be. That was where like it changed my life. I ate dog shit.
I guess is there any other standouts? One last one that really stood out to you. I know you just recently worked with Justin Timberlake, huh?
Yeah, we were doing the with
were you? He seems like a very very cool person. Were you working with him one-on-one in any situation? Okay.
Yeah, it was. We're working on the whole album. It was like kind of crazy because it started like towards September 2020.
Yeah.
When I was already kind
COVID
of working
was
with
coming
and stuff. So we went out to LA to work on the project. So that's one of those projects that was really cool because it was like, I don't have anything. I don't have any of his vocals. I don't have anything, and I'm so happy I don't. Because
I'm sure that's relieving.
Responsible. His personal engineer, which is an amazing fucking engineer. Shout out to Chris Gobby. He's he has all that stuff. So
nice.
But yeah, Justin's a super nice guy. Fucking incredible talent. One of those talents that you're like, he gets on the mic and you're like, fuck. Like, dude,
you're like, wow.
Like, my job is so easy when there's people like that. You know.
That is a really enjoyable part of. For me, that I could say too is when I have a character in front of the camera.
Yeah.
When you work with somebody who has like an energy about them, it makes your job seem like you're like, oh wow, I can be fully creative and really shine right now.
Right.
Sometimes when you have to be like cleaning people up and like trying to get their vibe right, you're just like, okay, like this is hard. Right. You try to be, you be the best you can and you don't be a dick about it. But and there's been projects where I've just like said no to it. Just on the preface that I don't want to do that stuff because there's just no like nothing to it. Like there's no like vibe. There's no like I can't get in the zone. I know like it's going to be hard to shoot it. It's going to be hard to plan it. It's going to be hard to shoot it. It's going to be hard to edit it. And then I don't want to post it. Wow. And I know that sounds like kind of like egotistical on my end, but it's also like I just want to be more selective with who I work with.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I mean, like we said, sometimes you just got to knuckle down, shut the fuck up and do it to get paid. But also at the same time, it's like for me, that's kind of where I got to, is it was so draining that I kind of was like, you know what, I'm going to have to find another hustle so that I can do this more as like a vibe. I'm still going to direct videos forever. I love,
I'm sure that's what
I love the video stuff.
Yeah,
but
that's the other thing too. Like, so
it's
like,
just,
I'm sure I'm gonna record until I'm fucking dead.
Yeah, of course.
I love it. I still love. I love mixing, and like too. But
Right.
there's also a really awesome, like being in the room when shit's being created is like so magical. Like when
Yeah,
you're
the
like when the
vibe.
magic happens, you're like, dude, that's awesome, and you're part of it. It's kind of cool.
something I guess we could tangent on that for a second too. Being in the recording studio, being the one that is, being a part of that process. I'm sure you've been a part of some really big records and some pretty cool stuff. Is there one record that stood out to you that you were like, being a part of it like meant a lot to you?
Like All I Do Is Win is an awesome song. I
Okay.
really like it. I'm proud of it because it's like it plays. Like,
You did that one?
Yeah, and it's funny to me because it plays like in sports. Like I go to sporting events, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I did that. It was just pain to me. Like kick
That's
Khaled out. Like give me 5 minutes. Did it in 5 minutes. Called Khaled back in. Payne just did it in like 2-3 takes. Like boom, boom, boom.
That's
did it.
wild.
Like I should have like when people ask me this question, I should have like shit that I go to immediately.
Yeah.
But my brain gets cluttered a lot in the sense of like I don't know because I'm always focused on what I just finished working on.
Right. So sometimes you forget what you did.
Yeah, and I forget what I did, and
Yeah.
that sounds horrible. And that come off like, well, what a dick or cocky, but that's not what I mean.
Nah,
I
it's just
like,
you're focused on the current projects.
like
There's
the current project. Like right now, actually, I'm really excited about the Meek Mill and Rick Ross album that I mixed.
Yeah,
I
I was
mixed
gonna
in
say.
Atmos.
Okay,
So
nice.
I did only the Atmos mixes, and shout out to my boy E-Mix did the stereo mixes, and he brought me in to do this. And it was like this is a really good fucking hip hop album. Like,
yeah.
like they're bars, son. Like they're spitting
Yeah.
like some good.
You
I'm
were
like,
kind of
"Damn,
geeking
bro."
out mixing it. You were like,
Yeah.
so you're
I'm here.
sitting there like, yo,
Yeah.
this is tight.
Yeah, like I
That's
was
cool.
legit sitting there and going like, "Fuck, bro, this is fucking really good." And now I've been working with this kid, Big Walk Dog. I don't know if you ever heard him. He's from
No.
Mississippi. He signed to 1017.
Okay,
Yeah.
1017
He's
records.
really tight. I mean,
Yeah?
his name's Big Walk Dog. He's like 6'7". Like he's.
I
fucking
feel like
big.
I've heard of him.
Super, super nice guy. Like another
Cool.
one of those guys. Like just
Yeah.
nice, humble. Comes in, just him in the studio, him and
Right.
me, and just work, and then just
That-
good vibes.
Because you guys are really, I think that's cool when artists do that because it makes you know that they're being professional in the sense of they want to craft their sound.
Right.
They're not just coming here to record a song and just be like, oh, I'm just making songs, like, whatever. They're really being like, hey, I'm going to pick you because you understand me. I know I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start making my impact, my brand of who I am. I think that's a really cool thing to see.
And that's the
As
other
an
thing too.
audio
Like I
engineer
love working
recording.
with young new artists. Like I've been
Yeah.
working with Lotto. Like I worked with Lotto a lot at the
Mhm.
beginning of the year and stuff. And it was like there's a couple of songs that we did with her that I was like, this is a fucking dope record. Like that Lottery one, it's out.
Yeah.
I
You
thought
did
it was
that
a
one?
big pop record. Yeah,
Okay.
that was really fun.
Did you do what's the Rip Me Out of the Plastic one?
No,
No, you weren't there for that one?
that was like the 1 week that I stopped working. Yeah,
Oh,
but I feel like, dude, I think I worked on it. But that song's fire.
yeah, that song's tight.
Yeah,
The
Ben,
remix too.
shout out to Ben Hogwarts. To me, there's more of that than I'm so happy I did that. I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
Like there's more records that I'm like I get FOMO from, like fear of
Missing out.
Yeah, but fear of recording out or fear of working out.
FOMO.
FOMO.
That's
Yeah.
that's tough too
Yeah.
because you want to be thankful for what you have, but it's also like
Yeah.
sometimes you think about all the opportunities you could have done. Like I could have shot for NBA YoungBoy,
Damn.
and I just wasn't ready though.
Right.
That's kind of how I look at it. Or
Yeah.
shit happens.
But everything you are
Just-
where you are for.
You can be like, oh shit, didn't happen, and then you just kind of got to move
Yeah.
on because if you don't, you just sit there and get sad about it. Give a little backstory. We'll get into this. I met Hav because I moved to Miami with my friend Lacrosse, who just got signed to Cash Money Records. And we were out here, basically moved out here. He got his record advance. We got an apartment. We were staying out here, and we had sessions at the Hit Factory pretty much like every single night. It was like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and we were in there constantly. And we would have various engineers, but we ended up with you. Not a majority of the time, but you were definitely our favorite engineer. But we just kind of built like a good relationship with Hav. And there was like a group of us at that time that were there. It was Lacrosse, it was Jay Lewis, D Mike. I remember we were always in the studio like constantly. That's where I met Carl Paul. Like Carl Paul is still one of my closest friends. I'm gonna get him on next week's episode. But he got me a lot of connections here too. But yeah, basically that's how I met everybody, was through this Cash Money connection at the Hit Factory. And yeah, none of that music ever came out.
Yeah,
and Hav
I know.
mixed
It
like
sucks. He mixed a lot of stuff.
A lot of that shit.
And D-Mick, like, I mean, lacrosse stuff is great too.
There's
like,
some amazing tracks.
And so that goes back to like, that's kind of like when I first came back and I was freelancing and stuff. And there were sessions that I didn't want to do. It's not that they're beneath me. It's just like this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be in the studio till 8 a.m. Here comes like this group of new Cash Money like artists that they signed, and I ended up getting put in those sessions. But it was just such good vibes and such incredible talent.
Yeah.
That I was like, yeah, I'm in. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it.
That's so much fun. Those were good days.
It was, and it was good days, and
or nights, I guess.
Yeah, good nights that turned into days. But it was awesome stuff, and that's one thing that I do miss. That I wish it would have came out. Like, I wish a lot of that stuff would have came out.
There was some good stuff.
Yeah,
we did.
Hopefully, it sees the light of day.
He owns it now. Lacrosse got out of his Cash Money contract.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so he got all his shit.
Good for him.
So, and said, fuck Diaper Goat. Fuck Diaper Goat, by the way. Swear to God, if I ever see you guys, I'll smack you. I'm putting that in the podcast. But yeah, that was a fun time.
Yeah, your little notes.
Yeah, my note cards. Shout out, man.
Shout out to pens and pencils and
I
papers.
like that. I like writing shit better. I did stuff on my phone, like I told you earlier, but I just feel like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's a vibe.
Pen or a pencil?
Pen.
Oh.
My handwriting's nice, right?
Yeah, pretty good handwriting for you. What are you, Gen Z?
Mine gets bad when I get like excited about an idea.
But and what's crazy is like I take a lot of notes during sessions. Like whenever I go
you have like
to
the
session,
notepad.
I have a notepad next to me because you never know. So like when we're recording and there's takes, I make instead of making a mental note, I just write it real quick so I can go back to it a lot faster.
My house looks like a scene from like a
you have like
conspiracy theory. I have like sticky notes everywhere. Like everything's a sticky note. I put them by my bed because I'll just wake up and remember it. I have an app on my phone that reminds me every like hour of something I just wrote down. Like, I just constantly have shit coming to my head. My notes are filled. I probably use 10% of what I write down, but it's just like the 10% that I use is the shit that like makes me go. Like, I remember I wrote down podcast constantly for like 2 months, and now I'm here doing it actually.
Shout out to writing stuff.
Yeah, write your shit down.
Yeah, bro.
This is a little more personal, and obviously I don't know if you want to talk about it. I know you're more of a private person.
No.
But you have a family now.
I do have
you have a daughter, and she's very, very young, but
super young. At the moment she is 2 months and like tomorrow she'll be 9 weeks.
9 weeks.
Yeah. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Clara, my baby mama.
Man, shout out the whole family here. Amazing people. I wish you guys the best with everything.
Dude. It's crazy because like I always wanted a big family since I was a kid. You know, I come from a big family. It's 5 of us, and like so I was like, I want a bunch of kids and shit like that. And I started working in music, and the way I wanted to be a parent, I knew I couldn't doing what I do because. The hours, you're working all night long. You're working long hours. You're on call 24/7 because even on your days off, you might get a phone call. Someone like, "Yo, you available? Can you come in?" So you're like, "Shit." Right now, I couldn't be happier. I don't sleep. I didn't sleep that much anymore before, but it was different. At least I wouldn't sleep I would get like 4 hours of sleep, 5 hours.
You didn't sleep
straight.
Because of some fucking rapper,
right? Exactly. And it was like 5 hours of sleep straight. Now it's like I'm sleeping 2 hours, and in those 2 hours, I'm not sleeping because I'm like, is she up? Is she good? But thankfully, she's thriving. She was born.
That's awesome. I'm happy to hear
She was small. She was born early. She was a preemie.
Okay.
But she's good now. She's
thriving.
She's a little
happy.
Eating, farting, pooping machine. And that's all I can do.
Sounds about like all the babies. All right. So to end off my podcast, I do 2 things. The first thing I do is I do some rapid fire questions. I like to just ask some stuff, and then you kind of just got to give me an answer as quickly as you can. What's your go-to mic for a rapper, but like an aggressive rapper?
Probably a Neumann U87.
Neumann U87. All right, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's
pretty standard.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like the standard rap one. What's one of the craziest studio sessions you've had?
Working with a big R&B, not T-Pain, big R&B singer. We're recording, and he's got a girl in the booth with him. And you walk out to the lounge, and there's 3 other girls waiting their turn, and you're like, "Is this really happening?" And you're like, "Bro, it's really happening."
What the fuck?
Yeah, crazy stuff.
Wow.
One time I was working. There's a lot of. I mean, we
Yeah.
could do a whole episode of
There's
crazy
a whole
stuff.
episode of crazy
It's
stories.
another one that was like a crazy session. I
Fuck.
was working with an old. This is back in the day, early in my career. I was in the computer recording something, and I'm like, dude, what the hell is that smell? I'm like, it smells like some tires burning. And I look back, and there's like a fucking crack pipe, and I'm like, oh shit.
Oh wow. Was that Coolio?
No, it was not.
What's your favorite studio mug? I know you collect them.
Studio mug?
Yeah, you have studio mugs or your mugs. You know your mug collection.
I do have a mug collection. The mug that I drink coffee every morning is not from a studio, but it's from Sub Pop Records.
Sub Pop.
That I got in Seattle when I went with my girl a couple of years ago.
It's like what is Sub Pop?
It's like an indie label.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
like Death Cab for Cutie and that kind of indie rock stuff.
I feel like you listen to a lot of like punk rock, indie rock, huh? Like that's
I do.
was your
I listen to everything, but I do listen to it. I played when I grew up. I played in punk bands and stuff like that.
Right. So that was kind of
the
the beginning.
But like honestly, I listen to everything.
Yeah,
like,
you kind of
no
have
lie.
to.
Yeah, I have to, and it's also because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's not even a matter of it's my job. I have to like. I enjoy it. Like my first cassette. I bought 2 cassettes at the same time, and one was Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation a Million, and then U2 Rattle and Hum. I've always had like, like I listen to everything,
That's tight.
and because I love it. So.
You know what I started listening to recently? I don't even know why, but country.
Really? There's some good country.
I think I like came across like a Morgan Wallen thing, and he's kind of like a little more pop country.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just led me like YouTube would recommend some country. I never thought I would listen to country.
Yeah. Some good shit. Shout out to Dan and Shay. Have you heard Dan and Shay?
No.
They're pretty good.
They're
It's
good?
like pop country. Yeah.
I'm
Shay was like signed to Pain. He was like my roommate for a little bit.
Oh, really?
And he was doing R&B.
Yo, how much?
And then he moved to Nashville, and then this became like one of the biggest. Dan and Shay are like one of the biggest like country duos.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love the story arcs that people have of, like you said, like the guy Rocco. He was a manager for Pain, which is still a good position. But now he's like a huge producer for number one hits.
Yeah, he produces a lot with Dr. Luke and stuff, and
that's crazy. Yeah,
it's fucking nuts.
What are your favorite shoes to rock in the studio? Because I saw you had a bunch of posts where you'd post like your shoes in the studio.
I used to post like my different shoes. Like
I went way back.
Yeah, way back. You're lurking. Man,
you don't have that many posts. Settle down.
That's true. See, they don't lurk that much. I used to post a lot of like because I used to have like I love different shoes. And
you
stuff.
were wearing some like fancy ones though, like some like crocodile shit, some like
Could've
Birdman shit.
Because I'm flying everywhere.
Hell yeah.
Dude, lately, I mean, I used to wear like boots and shit at sessions, and like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Fuck no.
Lately, I just been wearing
the Birks.
The Birks. They're the most comfortable thing.
For reals?
And I fucking hated Birkins because I've always been like, that's hippie shit. You're from Colorado, so you're good. You're like
Birkenstocks.
bro. I think they give you a pair at the hospital, right?
Fuck you. You give you weed and Birkenstocks when you're born.
Like when you're born, they're like, here's your pair of Birkenstocks and here's your weed. Go, and here's the new script for South Park or whatever.
Bro, I don't even think. All of this shit's so hilarious. When people are like, you're from Colorado, I'm like, yeah. They're like, so you must be like a cowboy hippie. And I'm like,
you're like, yeah.
No, not really. Like, all right, cool. Kind of
so you wrestle buffaloes?
Just kind of a cracker factory out there, man. Just a bunch of white
Colorado's
people,
an amazing state, though, bro. It's pretty dope.
You can have it. I'll stay in Miami. I don't hate
Miami's
it.
Different,
you know what
bro.
I love
Colorado,
from Colorado?
You can fucking go to a mountain
the
bike.
Fall. The fall is my favorite season in Colorado. Or the winter because Christmas.
The only fall you get here is from the coconut in your head. Like in Miami, bro. That's the fall. The fall of the coconuts.
That's a dad joke.
You
can make those.
I know. Thank God. That's really the main reason why I had a baby, so I can keep making dad jokes with all the kids in the studio, and they're like, "Oh, whatever, idiot."
Why Manchester?
Why not?
Why Manchester United?
You cannot ask that. It's because
I'm just asking. I
don't.
It's not in my blood. I'm not British.
Neither am I. But somehow it
okay,
got in.
Sure. Captain Bradford was the guy who landed on Plymouth Rock, but that was in the United States. That wasn't Manchester. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. He was from Manchester?
No, I don't fucking know.
You're British.
Didn't pay attention in history class.
Do you know his name? Oh,
because
you're white.
Oh my god! Fuck you, bro. Are you Cuban? No.
No.
I was gonna say you're Bolivian.
Yeah, straight from Bolivia. Like cocaine straight from Bolivia.
Hey, because of the fucking
Wu-Tang song. That's why I'm from Bolivia.
Yeah, and then there's also a Immortal Technique song where it's called Bolivian Cocaine, where they sample the soundtrack from Scarface. Okay. Yo, you know one of my favorite favorite soundtracks is the Scarface one, but because of Giorgio Moroder.
Dude, he's the fucking best. And
Giorgio
so many people have
like,
no idea.
My god,
one of my
bro.
favorite songs.
Dope.
One of my favorite songs is one that he did with David Bowie that David Bowie didn't want to release.
No,
it's crazy, and it's called Gasoline, I think. Oh no, Cat.
It's released
called
or
Cat.
you heard it?
It is. You can
Okay.
hear it. You can hear
It's like
his
a-
version and you can hear Bowie's version.
Mm-hmm.
But his version is fucking insane.
Way
it like gives
better.
you. It actually plays Atomic Blonde.
Atomic Blonde. Yeah. Okay.
So that song plays in that.
It's in that?
movie, and it's fucking amazing. Yeah.
That's tight.
Yeah, that's awesome that you like him too. So many people
Yeah,
are like
I
that.
don't even know why. I couldn't tell you why. You know what it is?
the
I
father
used
of
to have an
disco, too.
app called Who Sampled,
Oh, nice.
and it would tell you I was big into like kind of more like old school hip hop. And old school hip hop now it's kind of come back a little bit, but there was a lot of old school hip hop that was heavy on samples. And
Yeah,
I
so-
loved Wu-Tang. I loved RZA. Like RZA is still one of my favorite. I love his whole story. But basically, I looked at a sample and it was Giorgio Moroder, and I liked the sample, like the song that was sampled better than the actual song. So I added it, and then I found out that he did the music for Scarface, or like composed some of
Yeah.
it. I think he composed it.
I think so.
But yeah, he's like one of those like mythical underground people that only the cool
Yeah.
people know. So we're cool.
Hey, we cool, we cool. But
But,
yeah, Man U is in your blood. I don't know. Manchester United was my team since I was a little kid for
Okay.
some reason. Like their logo was the Red Devils, and when I was a kid, I was attracted to it. For some reason, I was like, oh, that's
bro,
pretty
you-
cool. And then all the music that I listened to that was like that I really loved growing up
It was like
was
punk,
all come from Manchester.
UK punk shit.
Like the Smiths, like
Yeah.
Joy Division, like Oasis, like they're all from like Manchester, and you're like, what the like
So, like,
somehow there's a
aligned.
connection.
Yeah, you just
for
had
me.
to. All right, my last one is, this might be a hit or a miss, but I saw you had a vocal credit on No Es Lo Mismo.
Yeah, Alejandro Sanz.
Yeah,
Oh, for singing.
there's
Yeah,
a vocal
dude, how
credit.
did you find that?
I told
Damn.
you I just was
Dude,
googling shit.
You're like the guy from Canada
Nardwuar.
with the hat. Yeah, you're like Nardwuar. So, oh my god, that's fucking hilarious because I never really talk about that because I totally forget. So, like,
Yeah.
I was the assistant engineer during that project, right? During pretty much the whole project, we did the whole tracking and the mixing. Shout out to fucking Alejandro Sanz for an incredible talent. Shout out to Rafa Sardina, which is a god of a fucking engineer. And I learned so much from him. The guy has like 20 fucking 7 Grammys or some shit like that.
That's
Ridiculous.
wild.
Incredible.
Right.
Incredible talent. So we were doing a song one night. It's like 1 a.m, and he's like, "Oh, this needs a choir. We need like a crowd."
Yeah.
So it was like Alejandro gets on the mic, like his producer. I think there's a couple of friends that were in there, and they're like, "Go, go, go, you too!" And I'm like, "Shit, okay." So we were singing like the chanty part of it,
Yeah.
and I didn't know I was doing this because I'm like, and I was just, I guess I was moving my hand like this all the time, like trying to get rhythm. And like I see them laughing in there, I'm like, great. And it's like all of us recording, I'm like, we're laughing. And I come back in the booth, and Alejandro Sanz is like fucking like laughing. And he's like, bro, he's like, you were moving your hands so much, I thought you were gonna start an earthquake. And then he called. If you see the credit, it says earthquake. I don't know if you saw.
No.
So he put me like a nickname was earthquake. So it says like choir like Javier Earthquake Valverde.
That's fucking hilarious, bro.
Yeah.
I saw that. I was like, because it was some of them, you know, the credits don't really get listed, but there was one vocal credit. And I was like, vocal mixing? And I was like, can't be. And I was like,
singing.
I'm going to write this down. And then I kind of like, I was like, I got to ask and see what happens.
That's funny that you did.
Yeah, I went and listened to the song, and when I heard the chorus, I was like, this has to be where you were in there.
Yeah, I was in
Shout
there.
out Earthquake, man.
Earthquake.
That's tight.
That's fucking hilarious.
But yeah, so that's the end of our rapid fire. Those are some good
Those
ones.
are
I feel
good,
like
man.
those are
I
good.
appreciate the
Thank you, bro.
questions.
Of course, bro. Of course.
I'm done.
So I kind of always end everything after the rapid fire with a little bit of, it could be life advice, it could be a quote. I know we've been kind of like passing around some good knowledge and stuff, but if there's one maybe that just sums up something for you or something for this podcast or whatever it could be, if there's something that you would just offer to the world to make it better than yesterday.
Just don't eat the yellow snow. No, I'm kidding.
No, it's good.
That's
That's the one.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
done, guys.
that actually can be interpreted in many ways.
Hey, that's actually
It is
true. Yeah.
Dude, really, there's just so much, like you said, we're passing so much knowledge, and it's always like, just be you and be happy. Make the world be happy around you. You know, follow your dreams. It's so cheesy to say, but everybody has different dreams, and just be you, man, and
enjoy life.
Enjoy life. Do good.
You only get one, so have fun. All right, guys. So that's been my episode of Better Than Yesterday. Thank you to my guy Javier here. Absolute legend. He's not going to allow me to call him that, but he really is. Big inspiration. Thank you for kind of being a little bit of a motivational figure for us, the gang, when we first got to Miami, because I think sometimes we needed it, and I think you kind of helped us stay clear of some shit. So
That means a lot, honestly, because
Of course,
I know,
bro.
like, and like I said, it was funny because it was like all these young kids that came out of nowhere, and they're like, and I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't see myself there when I left Paint, and it was like I just happened to be there, and it was awesome.
No, it definitely was.
Yeah.
For us, I mean, when I talk to all of those guys, lacrosse mostly, it's still like one of the first things we think about is like, oh, with Javi and stuff. I remember like it was always just like a fun session, or we'd always have cool shit to talk about. Better Than Yesterday, episode 1 of Javi. Like he was the first of his kind, the first of this setup. All right, this is the first podcast of the reboot
of his Grammy.
So yes, this is the Grammy nominated podcast, soon to be Grammy award-winning podcast.
Let's get it.
But yo, thank you for being here, bro. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate everything.
Always
Appreciate
anything.
setting stuff up. Yeah.
Of course. I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you, man. Check out. I'm not a dick.
I know,
check everything out in the comments below. I got to do this stuff for like check everything out and subscribe and like and.
Is the credits should be rolling right now, and like you have theme music.